Okay, so a lot of you probably are wondering, did I go? Well, the answer is no, I didn't go. But here's the reason why. Oh, well, two things. A lot of you answered my question, should I perform? And some of you were nasty, accused me of being a hypocrite and a shill and all kinds of other stuff. And then there were those of you, my God folk, who I love, my sisters and brothers in Christ, who came at me scripturally, which really touched my heart. So I want to say thank you for that. But the final thing was that I asked God. I was up 4 o'clock in the morning. I got completely dressed. I kid you not. I had on full makeup, had my hair done, nails done, everything did. And I asked God, I said, show me, give me a sign, Lord, because I'm still confused. I got thousands of advice, some saying go, some saying don't go. What should I do? And the Lord answered me within minutes because I got hit with the worst constipation I ever had in my life. I was in that bathroom for at least a half an hour. And then afterwards, I got hemorrhoids. Now, those of you, if any of you know about hemorrhoids, you know that when you got that, you can't sit down. You can't sit down, you can't lay down, you can't stand up, you can't do nothing because the pain, oh my. And if you know about playing cello, then you know that that's an instrument that you must sit down to play. There is no other way. The bass, you can stand up and play that, but the cello, you have to sit down. So that pretty much made it a wrap for me. But the funniest confirmation that I got was when I decided, okay, Lord, well, you made it clear I ain't gonna be no cello playing today. But I said, well, I'm gonna still watch it. And sure enough, the PGA golf tournament, which was on Channel 2, which was the station that aired the awards, went into overtime. It went into over a half an hour of overtime, which preempted the part that I would have been on anyway, because the part that I was in was the pre show. So everything from the pre show never got aired. Only a little piece of it, I think about 7 minutes of it, not even a full 10 minutes of it, because the award show had a slot time that it had to begin, and they would not go over with a pre-show into the time that the awards had to begin, because the awards already anticipated going over time, but they had a set time that they had to begin. And so that was humorous to me, that I would have gotten all the way down there and did my thing, and it would have never aired anyway. So I didn't go. But I thank you all for responding to my question. Now I'm going to give you my opinion of what I thought. The Grammys returned to New York after 15 years of being on on the other coast, on the West Coast. And the funny thing about it is that I always felt the Grammy should have been in New York anyway, because the West Coast is more known for movies and Hollywood, and the East Coast is more associated with a lot of music genres. This is the home of hip hop. A lot of people deny it, but it is. This is where it started. It's the home of punk rock. Most of the baddest punk rock clubs that ever existed, CBGB's, a whole bunch of them, I can't think of them all, started over here, and so on. But any doubt that this award show was going to be calm and tame and laid back was immediately erased when Kendrick Lamar, with his dancers all dressed in military camouflage, with a backdrop of the American flag, performed XXX. He was joined by YouTube's Bono and The Edge. And after this, after they had a flashing sign that said, "This is a satire," which came flashed on the screen. And after that, the camouflage was replaced by men in hoodies being shot one after the other. Now that was fierce. Now, I also noticed that there were many presenters and audience members who wore white roses in support of the Time's Up movement. And then there was a live performance which paid tribute to music lovers who died in violent incidents at concerts in Manchester and Las Vegas. The mood, however, was somewhat ameliorated by Lady Gaga, Lady Gag Me, who appeared in all white at a white piano draped with gigantic angel wings to sing Joanne, which I think was she said it was a tribute to her father's sister. Why she didn't say this is a tribute to my aunt, I don't know. But isn't that who your father's sister is, your aunt? But anyway, and she sang A Million Reasons. And she wore these teardrop diamonds that was the size of cockroaches in her ears. And Lady Gag Me even managed to mention Time's Up in her performance. So I'm feeling some kind of way about that because I'm guessing by having the angel wings and she was in white and the piano was white and, you know, she's trying to give herself some type of angelic vibe going on there. Or maybe it was to say that Auntie is in heaven. However, it was interesting to say the least. In the best pop solo category, there were 4 female artists up against Ed Sheeran, but he won the award. The funny thing was that I found kind of strange was that he didn't even bother to show up to collect it. And that song, Shape of You, just like FYI, that's one of the songs in my repertoire that I play on my cello. But Ed didn't think it was worth his time and trouble to be there. Or maybe he had something else more important to do. Kendrick Lamar was also a big winner. His first prize came for Loyalty as the best rap sung performance. I don't recall them ever having that category before. What I took that to mean when I saw the clips of the nominees is that it was a half rap and half singing. So that's what they call rap sung. Now, the Academy must have hired their archaeologists to dig up Tony Bennett. He stood behind Kendrick when he accepted his award. And he even gave a thumbs up, which I thought was very cute. They probably, the puppeteers probably had him do that so he could look cool. And Kendrick ended his acceptance speech with something that I found extremely corny. He said, Jay-Z for president. Now, Jay, he was seated front row and center. And he might as well have been invisible because he did not win any of the awards that he was nominated for. Now, my personal opinion on that is that the elite had him there to humiliate him because he was nominated 8 times for 444. But occasionally, they want to remind you who you work for. And so he sat there and he could have walked out, but he sat there patiently through all 57 hours of this long-ass show and won nothing. He also sat there for most of the show without a date. And then finally, Beyonce shows up with Ivy. And she was looking kind of witchy in that black hat and black dress. So I said, you know what? Jay probably figured, I'm going to bring the family. This will be a cool Sunday night out on the town. But James Corden, who was the host, he sucked as a host. Worst host I ever seen of anything. And then his little attempt at hood humor, which was directed towards Jay, was weak. So I don't even know how he pulled that out because I thought the host was supposed to be charming and funny. When he introduced his parents, I really felt that he was running out of material until he mentioned that his parents had went to a Broadway show prior to coming to the awards. And then I guess we all figured out, oh, this is the segue into the Broadway tribute, which was done beautifully by Patti LuPone. Dave Chappelle's clone started the show, talking about being an honest black man in America. Then he gave a shout out to Tribe Called Quest. But by the time he won his award, he didn't have too much to say. In fact, I think the only thing he said was, see you on Monday. One of my favorite parts of the award show was I had a couple favorite parts, but this was one of them. Janelle Monáe, she delivered a concise warning to the audience. She said that women mean business and that their patience was at an end when it came to harassment, pay inequality, abuse of power, and discrimination. Now, whether or not the elite sitting in the audience are going to take heed to that advice is anybody's guess. But what she said needed to be said, and I'm glad she did it because her delivery was charismatic, powerful, and on point. Her speech was succeeded by the most moving and relevant performance of the night. Kesha, who was accompanied by Cyndi Lauper, Camila Cabello, Julia Michaels, and Andra Day, and who was with the Renaissance Revival Chorus to sing Praying. And this raw, swelling cry of anguish against a vicious tormentor had the singers, and it appeared most of the audience, in tears. Even Corden, the host himself, seemed to be undone. And he called it a powerful performance, and he thanked Kesha. It was deep. And I liked, there were a few performances of songs relating to praying and prayer. And I like that because I believe this is the first time that the Lord was uplifted in song. All of them get up there and thank God. Most of them. I thank God for this award. That's cliche. But to actually perform songs that give praise to the Most High, I don't recall too much of that. So I thank Kesha for doing that. Midway through the ceremony, Sting performed An Englishman in New York. And that song, a lot of y'all don't know, but that song is like 30 years old. And then he had, the archaeologists must have also went on another dig to pull Shaggy up from whatever hole he was hiding in, because he comes out. And he put his own touch on the song by singing he was a Jamaican in New York. So that made that mildly amusing. But more importantly, why was Sting even there at all? Every minute of a high-profile broadcast like this is important, especially commercially, but also culturally and politically. For Sunday's Grammys to be the first in 15 years in New York, it not only took one, but two opportunities to showcase the work of Sting. And he also presented an award. Now, I get it. Police was a hot band in its day. And Sting, as a solo, he built a pretty impressive career. But it wasn't irrelevant to this day and time, either musically or culturally. Especially performing a song from 30 years ago. So it made it kind of strange that he got a lot of Grammy airtime. As opposed to, say, Lorde, who apparently wasn't even offered not only her own solo performance slot, but she also walked away empty-handed. There was even more reason to celebrate a performance that I found particularly outstanding of Logic, Khalid, Alicia Cara, and they performed the anti-suicide song, which has the number of the suicide hotline, 1-800-273-8255. With urgency, and after the song was over, and a homage to the immigrants in this country and the beautiful nations they come from, Logic declared that for those countries and their citizens were not ishholes, which, as you may recall what Trump referred to them as. However, CBS, in its wisdom, infinite wisdom, decided to bleep out that part of his commentary, and I think that was the most important part they should have kept in. Everybody knows that word, so I don't know why they felt they needed to to delete it. Maybe it was Trump sitting there in the control room and, oh, no, 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 we can't say that. At any rate, the comment was bleeped, and it was ironic. And I guess they were concerned also about their advertisers. So one of the most memorable moments of the Grammys wasn't even heard by the viewers at home. Elton John appeared in his full Elton regalia, and he sang Tiny Dancer, and he was accompanied by Miley Cyrus. And I have to give it to my girl. She actually came out classy. She had on a scarlet gown, had covered up her tattoos, and it was a nice little presentation. Elton John has performed so many times at the Garden, though, he had to feel like this performance was a homecoming. I guess the last thing I want to say was that Luis Fonsi and Daddy Yankee performed their hit Despacito, but they didn't win the award that they were nominated for that song. And I found that also there was an odd disconnect and almost a contradiction between the pro-woman message that dominated the entire evening and the blatantly sexist costumes and dancing in the performance of Despacito. Now, any of you who've been to any type of reggaeton or even a lot of the Latin music concerts know that the women do dress very sexy. This is part of the culture. Just like in the Jamaican culture. It's sexy is and skimpy outfits, that's, rigor of the course. But I think for a night like this where they were talking about women's rights and not being abused, that they might have wanted to tone it down just a little bit. But that's just my opinion. So that's my review. Eve was there in her designer outfit, and I don't know why, but I get the feeling that her billionaire husband must have tipped off a few of the execs and got her a hosting position, because Eve hasn't really made no noise these last couple of years, although she's popping up here and there. But musically, I was a little surprised. I was also surprised that they had Katie Holmes there presenting. What does she have to do with music? She's an actress, and not even a good one. But again, I'm sure the Church of Scientology must have made some type of donation to one of the Grammy foundations, because they managed to plug all the good that they're doing, the Grammys. Apparently, they have a lot of nonprofit foundations that they want people to support. So I guess Katie was there on behalf of the Church of Scientology to represent. SZA, I thought she was cute. Although I'm a little annoyed with her, because between her and retard Rihanna and all that thick weave, I'm sure there's some horses running around here bald-headed, but I'm not hating. I'm just, actually, I'm making jokes. But she was there, and she did her thing, and Riri did her thing with Bruno Mars, who won. I don't even know. I forget how many awards Bruno won, because he won so many. Every time I turned around, he was up there. And he won big ones. He won Album of the Year. And that song he did with Cardi. Oh, Cardi. Yes, Cardi was her usual classy self. Now, she showed up looking like an angel, but this is a prime example of how the enemy works. And I like Cardi. Y'all know that. I did a whole video on her. But why she got to spew that nastiness out of her mouth? That's scary. And you fellas, could you imagine? You look at a girl, she looked beautiful, she dressed beautiful, and then you take her somewhere and everything come out her mouth is trash. I would be so embarrassed. But nonetheless, she was there, she represented. She went a little old school with that Bruno Mars song. finesse, and I like that. It was cute, but she had to poke out her booty and say in the song about her big booty. Okay, so that's it, folks. Thank you as always, and I'm gonna end with prayer like I always do. Lord, I pray that one day people will get awards for the good, kind things that they do, and for the way that you have taught us to be in life and to treat each other, because that's what's important. Making music and entertaining, this is important, Lord, because it brings joy to the people. But I do not believe, and I never will believe, Lord, that an entertainer is more important than a teacher, that an entertainer is more important than a counselor, than a real preacher, than those of us who try to lead the youth in the right way, Lord. There are so much more important things to aspire to, Lord, in life than being an entertainer. I believe that the industry has attached the love of money to this field so tightly intertwined between the love of self and the love of fame that the young people who aspire to get into this have lost sight of who they should be serving. They should put you first, Lord, and then everything else will follow. If it is meant for them to do this, then you will let them know. You will lead them to it, and they will prosper. And I'm not saying that there are no godly people in the industry, but Lord, they're far and few between. So I'm asking you in this prayer. They sang songs last night. There were at least two of them regarding praying. Lord, I ask you to help the people to know that prayer works. That anything, the answer to anything they need to know, they can find through you. All they have to do is ask. I asked you for confirmation, Lord, and you gave it to me. You gave it to me in more ways than one. And for that, I thank you. I thank you for the ministry. I thank you for the people who subscribe to the ministry. In the mighty, mighty, mighty name of Yeshua, I bless you and thank you.